want to ask you something about something completely different.
Oh,
Being Hitler,
yes.
you essentially started not your performance career, because you were a drummer in bands for some time before that.
Yeah.
You were, I don't know if you'd been an actor at that point or not before
No,
Being Hitler made
not
you
really.
famous?
No, I've been in a school play once. I played Judas in a school play. And I managed it. I think it was the equivalent of 2nd or 3rd grade. And this is awful. This is not in the book. I just remember this. I managed to persuade the teacher in the class that the play was really about Judas. Oh man, that's a terrible little boy right there.
Well, perhaps in your performance it was.
Yeah, well, of course it was.
But Being Hitler is a character that you created. I wonder if you could describe for the audience what...
Well, Being Hitler was a character that would allow me to fail in stand-up without anyone knowing my name. Plus, I was unemployed and I was drawing unemployment benefits, so I couldn't use my own name. And I wanted with the statue of... Oh, I'm an American citizen now. They can't deport me to Britain. So So what I wanted a name that had shock marquee value, you know, and Being Hitler actually did, maybe a little more than I was after. And there was no crooning or fascism involved. It wasn't that. It was about. He was a man who was very kind of single-minded Scottish patriot, and it was very local comedy. And when comedians are starting out, if a guy starts out or a girl starts out in San Francisco, it'll all be San Francisco comedy. If you start out in Detroit, it'll be Detroit stuff. And I started in Glasgow, and it was all about Glasgow and Scotland and what. You know, and he was this super Scottish patriot that believed that Scottish insects were better than English insects. You know, just all of that stuff. Really. I can't really. I was pretty drunk, to be honest.
Were you writing all this time, and when did you start to?
I've always written things down. I don't quite know why. I think I've noticed there's a great therapeutic value in getting it down on paper. And I've always done that. I did that when I was drinking as well. But you know, I don't know if you've ever done this. I don't know if you've ever been drunk. But you write stuff down at night and think it's fantastic, and then read it in the morning and like, I did a lot of that. But every now and again, I would write something at night when I was drunk and read it in the morning and go, I'm much better when I'm drunk because this is better than me. And it's I don't know what it is. Writing is the way out for me, somehow.
And you kind of suggested in the book that you were getting a bunch of scripts when you came to Los Angeles, and you said, well, I can write better than this. But
well, it wasn't so much that, and I wasn't, to be fair, I wasn't getting the scripts. What was happening was I was finding the scripts and stealing them so I could look at movies that were being made and see, you know, what was coming up, if I could possibly persuade anyone that it was really about Judas, if you know what I mean. You know, that I could make, maybe this astronaut should be Scottish, maybe this FBI man grew up in Glasgow, you know what I mean? It's like, I was always trying to get me into them. But as I was reading these scripts, I realized that, not all of them, but some of them, I thought, this is garbage. You know, if I read one more time, we're through the looking glass here, people, I'll lose my mind. You know, or when people say in movie scripts, hey, I'm sorry about what happened back there. Nobody ever says that ever in life. Hey, you know, I'm sorry about what happened back there. Nobody says that. You know, I'm sorry about what happened on page 17. But people were writing these scripts, and I thought, I don't know if I can write better than this. I really don't. But I know I can't write any worse. So I'll give it a shot. And that's when I wrote Saving Grace and these other movies. I just kind of had a crack at it and made them. You know.
And it's interesting to see, now having read your book, that a lot of you has ended up in those, as with anyone who writes, you write what you know. And
sure.
I find it interesting that you had just become sober and you wrote a book about a woman who helps you to grow pot in her greenhouse.
Right.
But she also was broke, in which you were very broke at the time, we come to find out in your book. And if you look at the big T's, for example.
Everything I write is about one thing. This, the other book, Between the Bridge and the River, The Saving Grace, The Big T's, I'll Be There, which is, it didn't come out the way I wanted it to come out, but everything that I write is always the same story. It's redemption. That's the only thing. Redemption through self-analysis. That's all I do. That's all I write. That's all. All I write is about redemption. It's all I do when I'm trying to do the show. When there's no, and I swear, when they start the show with a waving crocodile and all that, I don't know what's going to happen. There's not even bullet points. There's not even, all right, let's do it. It's like, turn the camera on, go! And the audience is like, that's not really happening. I'm like, this is really happening. And I think people at some level go, he's going to fail! And I'm like, yes! But it's okay. And it's about failing and not letting it ruin you, and it's about redemption and about helping. I guess I don't know. It's a strive, an attempt to be honest all the time. I feel like I'm a very paradoxical person. When I found out I was a pathological liar, I decided that I would be completely honest. When I found out that I was a hopeless alcoholic, I stopped drinking alcohol. When I found out that drugs were very addicted to me, I don't take them anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, it's strange. When I found out that I was a late night talk show host, I stopped telling jokes.
But I would argue that it's not, and I've spoken to many people, certainly in the last couple of months, when I know I was going to talk to you about the appeal of your show, and I would argue that it's not that Schadenfreude, that they're looking for you to fail, but there's something really exciting about watching somebody being themselves in that, even within the context of a talk show. That there's something very real about that.
No, I don't imply that I think there is hostility in the audience. I don't. I don't mean that. I mean that if I fail, I trust you to know that it's okay, and you can trust me to fail and somehow find a way for that to be okay. I don't mean the audience. It's not a high wire act in the sense that people are going, or maybe not high wire. High wire is okay. Maybe it is that. It's not NASCAR. You know, it's not like let's pretend we're really enjoying it. When's the crash coming? You know, it's about. I think there's a community spirit involved in what the show is. I think. I hope.
I would agree. Well, I get some of this. Thank you.
Never to steal that girl.
You suggest in American on Purpose that you wrote Between the Bridge and the River in part because you had come off of a not so pleasant experience directing a movie, and this was something that you could do on your own. Nobody could tell you what to do.
Yes. Yeah.
But it does have a lot of these ideas in it that you talk about here, redemption, well, first of all, you had a hard time getting it published.
Yes, I did. I think that if you do one thing, people sometimes don't like you to do another thing. Some people. No. I mean, what I mean by that is that publishers, my own agent in New York, I took the manuscript of the novel I wrote to them, and this is my own agent who said, sometimes we get celebrities here with their books, and I look at their books and I tell them, go home. And she said that to me, and I had written this book really basically as an attempt to avoid a nervous breakdown. And so when, which I didn't avoid, the nervous breakdown actually is the book, I realise now. But the thing is that when she said that to me, though, this was my own agent, remember, this is not someone I was trying to get involved with. This was someone who, if this thing was published, gets 10%, but didn't even, just no. What happened actually, I had a meeting with her, and it was in New York, and then I walked outside after being rejected by the very people that are meant to represent me, and I walked into Central Park, and I sat down on a bench, with resentment filling me like, warm tea, and I turned around for some reason, and there was a statue of Sir Walter Scott behind me, the great Scottish novelist. His head was covered in pigeon shit, but he was still very impressive. And